you do the homework, that will be, the best way to, make sure that you learn what we have taught in the class. Okay.
Okay, I'll try.
So we'll
Um,
go ahead and start. Go ahead.
yeah, the volume was kind of low. I was having difficulty hearing you.
Oh, you're having difficulty hearing me?
Yeah, but I think it's up now. I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I think it's from my end.
Okay. I can hear you too. Everybody can hear me? Good.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. So let's go ahead and quickly cover today's topic. Let me share my screen. I'm pretty sure we have the recording going on. Yep. And then I'm going to open my week 7 today. And in our week 7 session, we will be covering basically, this is very interesting stuff too, folks. Auditing, testing, and monitoring. So let me share my screen in a minute. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which screen are you seeing? Are you seeing the tree or the?
Yeah, auditing,
Okay,
testing.
Auditing,
perfect.
testing, and monitoring.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So on week 7, we'll be learning auditing, testing, and monitoring. And then let me play this. Okay. Display setting. Okay, perfect. So in our today's session, week 7, audit, testing, and monitoring. This is auditing, testing, and monitoring is very important to folks. So we will cover practice and principles of security audit and analysis, ways to monitor systems, types of logs, information to capture, verifying an organization security controls, monitoring and testing security systems. Okay. Let's do the Q&A for our last class. I'm pretty sure you all were in the last class. So let's discuss on the Q&A for the last one. Security administration is the group of individuals responsible for planning, designing, implementing, and monitoring of an organization security plan. True or false?
True.
True. Everybody's agreed. True. That is correct. It's true, brother. Let's go to the next one. The security program requires documents of the security process, the policies, procedures, and guidelines adopted by the organization, the authority of the person responsible for security, all of the above, none of the above. What will be your answer, folks? You can put it in your chat too. Put your answers in the chat, please. What do you all think? The security program requires documentation of. Remember, we covered what are the documents that is required by security program. We covered policies, we covered procedures,
I think it's
right?
B.
Yep, exactly. B
I
is
think
the
it's
correct.
B.
Yep, B is the correct answer, folks. So security program requires good policies, procedures, and guidelines adopted by the organization. Yes. An organization does not have to comply with both regulatory standard, organizational standard. True or false? The organization have to be security compliance should be for regulatory standards or organization standards. Which one false? Abu, you say false. Why do you think it's false?
Oh yeah, you said does not have to. I didn't get it right. It
It
has
has
to.
to. Yes, absolutely true. True. Yes, sir. Very good. Very good. Excellent job, folks. And dash is a formal contract between your organization and an outside firm that details the specific services the firm will provide.
Mm.
So, what is the contract? Do you remember anybody? We talked about the contract too.
Service level agreement.
Absolutely, yes. C is the right answer. Service level agreements. We always do SLAs with the companies, outside firms, when we have any services. Very good. Which software testing method provides random input to see how software handles unexpected data? Injection, fuzzing, valid error input, boundary input. Remember we talked about it?
E.
Yeah, you're right. It's E, all of the above. Excellent, excellent. Very good. In 1989, IAB issued a statement of policy about internal ethics. This document is known as, remember we talked about this document too, internal ethics document. Don't remember?
I think it's C.
No, it's A. Give me one sec first.
A.
A. It's A, brother. OECD. Yep. Let's move on to the next one. Dash is the concept that users should be granted only the level of permissions they need to perform the duties. What is the answer? Mandatory vacations, separation of duties, job rotations, principle of least privilege, none of the above. What do you all think? What is that, everybody?
B.
Separation of duties? No. Excellent. Yes, yes, D. Yep. Which of the following is an example of social engineering? An emotional appeal for help, a phishing attack, intimidation, name dropping, or all of the above?
E.
Remember we talked about social engineering? What happens with social
D.
engineering?
B.
D?
Phishing attack.
Phishing, yes,
B.
absolutely B. Yes, exactly. Phishing attack is an example of social engineering. Correct. Policy sets the tone and culture of the organization. True or false?
True.
You're absolutely right, sir. It is true. Policy sets the tone of the culture of the organization. So if you want to look at the culture of the organization, read the policies of the organization. Excellent. I think this was the last one. Dash involves the standardization of the hardware and software solutions used to address the security risk throughout the organization. So what is the document that we use to standardize the hardware and software solutions used to address a security risk throughout the organization? Remember we talked about this?
D.
Baseline.
Yeah, absolutely. No, 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 not C, not B.
A.
I'm sorry, not D. Remember, we were talking about standardization of the hardware and software solutions. That is basically B, yeah. Everybody's, yeah. Standards. We use standards to standardize the hardware and software solutions, right? Yeah. So what is the software solutions we are going to use? What are the hardwares you're going to use? So for example, you'll have a standard saying that all the employees in our company will be getting HP laptops. So basically, everybody will have HP laptops unless you require some specific, Apple laptop, MacBook for some specific task, then one off you can get it. But everybody comes in, they will get a HP laptops or, Lenovo or whatever it is. So because they have those standards, they have they make the standards so they can buy the equipment in bulk and cheap. Same way with licenses to software licenses. So somebody will say, you'll have a Jira, or whatever it is. So softwares they buy, if they buy it in bulk, so that will be the standards the company will use. Okay, excellent, very good. Any questions so far? Okay, let's go ahead and start with our class section.
Sir, I joined a bit late, so I can just send my homework in the chat.
Okay, you want to share your homework, Subhan? You want to talk about it?
Sure.
Sure, go ahead, go ahead. That's
Okay.
great. Let's go ahead. You can take over the screen. I'll stop sharing. And then I'm going to give you permissions. Yeah. You can go ahead and share.
One second. Can you guys see my screen?
I am just seeing your share device audio. Yeah, I can see it now.
All right. Okay, so the question one was, what are the key personnel security principles? Personnel security focuses on reducing risks caused by employees inside an organization. Separation of duties means important tasks are divided between different people, so no one person has full control. Least privilege means employees only get the access they need to do their job. Job rotation allows employees to switch roles to reduce fraud and increase awareness. Mandatory vacations can help detect hidden problems when someone else performs the job. Next question is, what are the different types of IT security policies? Enterprise Information Security Policy sets the overall direction for the security in the organization. Issue specific security policy focuses on specific topics such as email, internet use, or remote access. Systems specific policy provides detailed rules for particular systems or technologies. Next question was, what are the data classification standards? Data classification organizes information based on how sensitive it is. Public data can be shared openly without risk. Internal data is meant for employees only. Confidential data is sensitive and must be protected. Restricted data is highly sensitive and requires strong protection controls. Question number four is, what is the difference between system management and configuration management? System management focuses on the daily operation of systems, including updates, monitoring, and backups. Configuration management controls and tracks changes made to the systems. It ensures hardware, software, and system settings are documented and protected from unauthorized changes. What are the system life cycle and system development life cycle? The system life cycle describes the full life of a system from planning to retirement. It includes planning, development, operation, and disposal. The system development life cycle is the structured process used to design and build systems. Common phases include planning, analysis, design, implementation, and maintenance. And that is it.
Excellent, excellent, excellent job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, very good presentation. It's very to the point, very nice presentation. Very good job.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and start our auditing, testing, and monitoring session today. And I'm going to start sharing my screen. Let me know when you guys can see my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry about the
Okay.
delay. We got a time clashes with our class, so that's why we are late.
Oh, no, no worries.
Yeah.
Azam, do you want to present your session,
No,
Azam?
sir. I left early. I am pretty much occupied, sir. Thank you very much. I pass another 2 weeks, and after that, I will be full swing. I got
Okay.
other things to do. I'm very sorry.
No
I'm missing
problem. But make
classes.
sure you review the
Oh,
review the
you have no
presentation.
idea the team I'm in, Ehsan, Daniel, and all that. These guys are phenomenal. Trust me, they're holding my fingers and they're teaching me.
Perfect,
Don't try
perfect. I know
this.
those.
Yeah,
You guys have a very good group. Yes,
they
yes.
are awesome. I'm proud the part of them, man. I'm lucky, you can say.
Perfect, perfect. Very good, very good.
The Daniel is so much in detail that you don't have a time, and that guy is. I'm so happy that he how he find the time. I wish I can have the same thing.
I know,
Hey,
and
Daniel.
Nishit is that way too. Nishit is also very detailed. I really like his presentations too. All of your presentations. I think you guys are exceeding the expectations. Very good, folks. Okay,
Wonderful
let's
job.
go.
Come here, boss.
Yes, yes, and research part when while you're the key is right, Nishit. When you're doing the research, you learn so much from it. That's the best part. So yeah, definitely very good. Yeah. Yes, very good. Very good. Very good. Yeah, yeah. That is the key behind do the research and do your homeworks. That's why I wanted you all to have this homeworks. That way you can learn a lot from doing research. Okay, folks, let's go ahead and start our class 7, auditing, testing, and monitoring. A security audit is crucial type of evaluation to avoid any data breaches. Okay, so audit is very crucial for any company like mid-size and large scale companies. So basically, there are two types of audits. Okay, there is internal audit and external audit. What is internal audit? Internal audit is basically like, for example, like big large scale company and small scale companies, they have their own internal audit teams. So they will be auditing internally all the applications, all the products they have. Like, for example, right, my company, we have over 100 products. So we have a big audit team. I think there are about like 15 to 20 auditors we have, and then they are continuously auditing all the products. So there are 100 over 100 products, right? So 2 weeks they audit one product, 1 week they audit another product, 2 weeks they audit. So it is based on basically, uh, what do you call the priorities of the application and how much revenue each application is getting, right? So there are multiple factors. Based on that, audits are conducted too. So some of them have quarterly audits, some have like a month yearly audits, so like that. So and then you also have external audits. External audits are basically your clients, they tell you to get that externally audited. Like, for example, JP Morgan. We have a client called JP Morgan, and they want us to do both external and internal audits. So what they do is, right, JP Morgan, they have their own audit team. They will send their team to us, um, and they will audit our stuff. Does that make sense, folks? And then what audit does is, right, for example, right, your application. So your application is used by JP Morgan, right? So I'm just giving an example here. So JP Morgan says that, hey, we don't trust your internal audits, but we trust your internal audit too, but we want to verify from our auditors too. So now the JP Morgan auditor will come and then they will ask for artifacts. Artifacts are nothing but your logs, what logs you have, or who's accessing your systems, was there any breach done on your system, is all the controls in place on your system, right? AU2 access controls are in place for your systems, right? And are you doing proper security testing? Are you doing dash testing, dynamic application security testing, SAS testing, static application security testing? Do you have proper firewalls in place? Are you monitoring your systems? Are you uh, uh, testing your OS operating systems to the baselines. What baselines are you using? Are you using CIS, CIS baselines, benchmarks? Are you using NIST benchmarks, right? Or SOC 2 benchmarks, SOC 2 controls, So each controls that you have in place, you have to provide all the artifacts of those controls. Okay, this is how we are basically making sure our security posture is in compliance with our SOC 2 uh, baselines. So most of the people, they use either NIST, CIS, or SOC baselines. So whichever baseline is. So you have to provide them all the evidence, like artifacts. They want to see artifacts, and then they will also sometimes do a real test to make sure that how are you protecting your SQL injections, right? So what are the activities you're doing to protect your systems from SQL injections, right? We did SQL injections in our earlier session, right? Can you somebody tell me one of the examples how you can protect SQL injections, protect your systems from SQL injections? One common one, a lot of people use. Anybody? How do you protect your systems from SQL injections? So one of the way you can protect is by parameterizing your systems, right? Your queries. So people can, and you can do validation, input validations, right? On your text fields and all that. So there are many ways. So they want to see all those artifacts, like, okay, how are you parameterizing your systems? But later on in the class, I'll show you exactly how parameterization works and all that. Remember, we talked about it. I think it's next week or week after that. So I'll run you through the system and show you how you can parameterize your queries, how you can have open query will be how hackers can easily access your send SQL injections if you don't have any input validations and parameterizations of your systems and all that. So they'll ask for all this kind of information. So you have to give them the proof that you are basically making sure your systems are in align with all the security controls that you have put in place. Azam, yes, sir. You have a question?
Sorry to
No, sir.
stop you. May sound uh, question should ask earlier because I missed classes. Why all three together? Why can't we do auditing and just leave them, the testing department, do their job? So why we have to do all three at once?
No, these are different. Adam, that's a really good question. So these are different topics, right? So we are covering in class all three topics. You don't have to do it at the same time. So testing and monitoring is continuous. You have to continuously do that. But auditing, you do it at a specific times, whatever your company wants, like once a year, once a quarter, depending on your systems and depending on 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 the or on your client, depending upon your clients.
Previously, we have been caught working in the United Health Group, and everybody got shocked or surprised because the auditors were there, and we were sitting because we have nothing to do. We were just sitting, and so that's the thing comes into my mind that the auditing is done. So now we are learning or seeing the testing and monitoring, which is obviously different department, and it goes continuously. So that's the reason for the question.
Yes, yeah, definitely. So,
HIPAA compliance there too.
I'm sorry, what was the last thing, Azam?
The HIPAA is there too
HIPAA,
for.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So did I answer your question, Azam? Or
Yes. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. I'm
yes.
sorry. I'm behind, team. Sorry, interruption.
No. Anybody, there's no sorries. If you have any questions, please raise your hands and ask questions. Otherwise, you're not going to find out. So please, if I don't know the answers, I'll try to get the answers for you. Yeah, but this is what we are here for: answering questions and learning from each other as well at the same time. So basically, go ahead. So Nishit, that's another great question, right? So first you have to put everything in place. You have to put test, you have, so any application, right? Before you productionalize your application, you have to test it. You cannot, so the thing is, right? Always remember all the vulnerabilities, the most cost effective to fix the vulnerabilities are at what environment? Can you all tell me? So if you, the earlier you find the vulnerabilities, the easiest it is to fix, right? Both cost wise and the resource wise and the complexity wise, right? So if you're developing a software, right? Okay. And then you do your SAS scans. SAS scanning is basically static code analysis scan, right? So you use tools like Burp Enterprise or Sneak. We'll cover tools later on, right? Snack. So while you're programming, right? Once you're programming, when you're done one module of your program, you can run the Sneak tool to identify any vulnerabilities there, okay, and fix it right there, right? So that is you're fixing that in your development environment itself, right? So if, for example, right, uh, Nishit is writing one module of code, okay, and then Nishit basically writes the code, and then he forgets to parameterize the queries, okay, in his C Sharp, for example. It's a .NET application, right? So and then Nishit does is it scans the Sneak tool, and then Sneak tool finds out, okay, there is a vulnerability because SQL injection vulnerability because of not parameterizing this query. So Nishit looks at it. Oh, okay, I found this vulnerability. Then Nishit right away goes and parameterizes that query. Instead of sending the clear text, he parameterized that query. Now the vulnerability is gone, correct? I am developing another module in same C Sharp, and then I write the code and I forget to put the parameterized code in my C Sharp module, okay? And I don't run the Sneak scan to test it to make sure it has no vulnerabilities in it, and I just deploy that code to QA. QA tested, they don't find anything either. And then the code goes to what? Customer test. Customers test it and they don't find the code. Now the code goes to production. Now the code is live in production with the vulnerability, right? So in production, now the auditors will come and find that code in the production saying that, hey, you have this vulnerability in your code. What will happen there? First of all, it will be audit finding, right? It's going to, if there is audit finding, means your systems are not confident enough to be securely safe. That what does that do? If you have a lot of audit findings, then what happens is your customer does not have confidence in your system. That's what it is, right? So tell me, which one is better now? Doing it, testing it early when you're developing the code, or auditor coming and finding the code, the vulnerability? Nishit or anybody?
Doing it early.
before it goes out in the production.
Obviously, when you test it in your code itself, it's cheaper, right? It's very cost effective. Now what happens is, right, you have to put the production systems down, you have to bring everybody, you have to do like patches to the system and all that is a lot more costlier too. So testing is always done in the lower environments, like your development environments or QA environments, okay? So once the testing is done, and then you turn on the monitoring. Monitoring is continuously, basically, what is monitoring? Can somebody tell me what monitoring means?
Constant checking.
Very good, very good. Any other definition? Constant checking for what?
Vulnerabilities.
Any breaches. Monitoring doesn't do any vulnerability checks. That is basically security tools that will check it. Monitoring only does is basically it looks for any breaches happening in your system. For example, right? So there is some some hacker is trying to log into your system at 3 a.m. in the morning. So it monitors that, it logs those that, and then there is a login failure, five login failure attempts happening, right? So basically this monitoring, what it does is it looks at that system at 4 a.m. in the morning. Somebody's trying to hack the system. So that then what happens is basically those alerts goes to your SOC, security operations team. Then security operations team is always 24/7 up, right? So we have two teams, one in India, one here. So in the morning, SOC team monitors all the alerts here in US, and then in the nighttime, India teams monitor all the alerts for us. So what happens is it goes to your SIM system, right? Any monitoring events goes to the SIM. SIM directly sends an alert. Anybody knows what SIM is? We talked about it last week.
Security information and event management.
Excellent, Babar. Very good. Yep. So that goes into your SIM, monitoring events, logs, and then immediately alerts are sent to your SOC, and SOC immediately takes action. So in this case, right, some hacker is trying to break into your system by putting invalid logs, and then login fails, and then immediately those logs are taken from monitoring tools, and then it will be sent to your SOC, and SOC will immediately react to it by actually seeing whether it's false positive, whether it's actually attacked, and then if it's attacked, they will have their processes in place. If it's a false positive, they'll have different processes in place. So that's how it works. So monitoring. So, and then when you have your testing completely, then you have your monitoring turned on, then you call your auditors and tell them that, hey, our system is safe. This is how we are monitoring. This is how we are testing. You show them all the artifacts, like how you tested, how you monitored your system, how the alerts are sent out, all those artifacts. Like you take a snapshot of an alert and show them, okay, this is it. This is how we are doing it, right? So, and SQL, like how you are. So here, Brother Azam put a query here. Yep, exactly. This is how it is, my brother. Very good. So you show them your code actually saying that, okay, this is how we are parameterizing this, and this is how we are saving, we are implementing this control against security injections. Make sense? So you have to provide all the artifacts to the audit team. It's not just, you tell them, you have to also provide the documentation to them. And then once they analyze all the system, they go through all the documentations. After that, if they find any vulnerabilities, they'll give us a report. So that I'm coming to that question now. Then you take that reports, if there is any findings, and they'll give you a timeline. Okay, we found this many vulnerabilities in your system. We want this to be all of this vulnerabilities to be fixed within like 7 days or 10 days, depending on if they are critical and high, they'll give you like 7-10 days. If they are medium, then they'll give you like 30 days. If they are low vulnerabilities, they'll give. So there'll be a vulnerability management part. They give you like timelines. So you have to fix all those vulnerabilities and then show those artifacts to them again, like, hey, we have fixed your vulnerabilities. Then they'll give you a clean report, audit report. Does that make sense? Everybody clear?
Yes.
Excellent. Very good, folks. Very good. Okay, so auditing is, I'm not going to read through all of this. You guys can look into this. Auditing a computer system involves checking to see how its operations have met security goals, right? Audit tests may be manual or automated. So audit will also have their tests. They will manually do it, or they will do it in an automated way. They have tools too, so they can use their own tools to test it too. So they will test your systems too. Before you can determine whether something has worked, you must first define how it's supposed to work. So basically, you should also know how it's supposed to work when you're showing. So you have to know and assessing a system. Okay. Security audit and analysis. Are security policies sound and appropriate for the business or activities? Are there controls supporting those policies? Is there effective implementation and upkeeping of the controls, right? So, for example, what I mean by here is basically they will also check your security policies. Make sure, so whatever your security policies is, and all those policies are implemented. are they controls supporting your policies on your systems? That's what they're looking at. So first thing, they start with security policies. And then for example, that you have a security policy for access control. You say that the password should have minimum 12 letters. You should have MFA deployed, those kind of things, right? So they will ask for you to, okay, show us where it is configured in your system that it should be, your password should be not less than 12 characters, and there should be a complex characters. Where your system says that you should have, where is the multi-factor authentication turn on in your IAM control. So there you have to show those artifacts to them. That's what it means. And the third one is the effective implementation and upkeeping of controls. So this is very important, folks. We need to understand that it's not just implementing the controls. We also need to upkeep the controls. Okay. What do I mean by upkeep the controls? Anybody can tell me? Any ideas? What does upkeep controls means?
What my understanding is, anything changes and we continuously changing the scenario and monitoring the movement, even though a millisecond thing. That's my understanding.
Good. Any other thought? Anybody? What does it mean by upkeeping of controls?
Is it updating the controls?
Updating the controls. What do you mean by updating the control? Can you give it? You're close. Can you give an example?
It's like if there are new developments that need something to that renders the previous controls that are in place ineffective. So bringing in a new measures to secure the system instead of relying on the old controls.
Yes, you are right, sir. Very good, Abu. Should I call you Abu or should I call you Hood, brother?
Hood is my first name.
Okay, Hood. Yeah, very good. But so to add to Hood's point, right? Basically, we want to make sure we are also updating our controls. For example, right? Like 10 years ago, for access control, user ID and password was good enough. Everybody used to think user ID and password is to log on to your bank account, right? So the only thing you needed was user ID and password. That's it. Everybody was good with that. Everybody was satisfied. Then they found that, oh, no. If you just put user ID and password, we need to, that's not safe. We need to basically have encrypted passwords, right? When it is going from traveling, right? So then there is another control came in. You have to encrypt all your passwords, right? So HTTPS came into existence that way, right? Then they found that, oh, okay, even if you have user ID password, there is some vulnerabilities that's not enough. We need to have two-factor authentication, right? So we came to two-factor authentication. Now everybody is saying that you have to implement two-factor authentication, right? So see the control, how it is progressing. First, we were satisfied with just user ID and password. Then we wanted, password encrypted. Then we said we want no. We want two-factor authentication. Then we said, okay, we want multi-factor authentication. Then we said we want multi-factor authentication with phishing resistance. Right now, the same control has evolved to multi-factor authentication with phishing resistance. Right, that is where people are saying that control has to be. So you can see now how that control has evolved. So that's what exactly I mean when I say upkeeping of controls. That means you need to study the market and see what are the new technologies being added to those controls now, like from just user ID password to using multi-factor authentication with phishing resistance. Now, if you want your safe control to be safe, you have to put in place multi-factor authentication with phishing resistance. So does that make sense, folks? So all the controls also evolve with technology. So they might find the existing control might have some vulnerabilities. They'll come up with a new one. Then you have to adapt to that. That's what upkeeping with controls means, and that is very critical for security folks to know about these things. And then this is where you direct all your teams to this. This is one of the main job of security engineers, to direct people to update their controls. Everybody clear? Makes sense?
Yeah, I heard. I didn't get the last portion of your statement. That said, refers to phishing something. The last part of your statement and sentence, I didn't get the word phishing control.
Yeah,
Resistance.
phishing resistance. So if you type in Copilot MFA with phishing resistance, you'll find exactly how that control works. Phishing resistance.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Okay, let's move on. Any questions? Everybody good? So security controls addressing risk, right? Monitoring, reviews, and measures all the controls to capture action and changes to any environment component. The audit reviews the logs and overall environment to provide independent analysis, right? Include proposal to improve the security program and controls and audit results, right? So when the audit is done, they will propose improvements for your security programs, and then you will apply those steps. Who you means all your product owners and security team. Ensure that new and existing controls work together to protect the intended level of security. So securing is basically, we also need to make sure that all the controls are working together to protect the intended level of security. Some of the controls might not work, so you might have to implement two controls, right? So you have to also check once you apply any control whether that control is effective or not. If it's not effective, then that's not used of, there is no use of that control, right? It's just eating up your cost. So you also need to make sure that if you apply any control, those controls are basically meeting your requirements. If they are not, then you have to use another controls. So for example, right, to give you an example is basically for security, for operating system configuration and vulnerability scanning. Okay, so we used to have Wiz earlier, and then we identified that Wiz is not doing proper scanning of OS operating systems, and they don't have the functionality to do the compliance checks for OS. So what we did was we did some research and we found Colus, and then Colus is a tool. It does proper vulnerability scanning for all the OSs, and it does proper compliance scans based on our stick baseline. We follow stick baselines. Okay, so we discarded the Wiz tool, and then we identified Colus, and we purchased Colus, and then we are basically using Colus for doing the OS scans. Make sense, folks? So that is an example of whether you will be able to, whether the control is being satisfied or not. So you have to always, this is 100% sole responsibility of the security engineering team to identify the correct tools, make sure all the controls are properly in place and working as per the company requirements. Any questions on that, folks? Good. Okay, let's move on. So you can see the security review cycle: secure, monitor, audit, improves. So first you secure, then you monitor, then you audit, then you improve. Always remember, this is the cycle. First you secure your systems, then you monitor your systems, and then you audit your system, and then based on your audit reports, you improve your systems. Okay, not just audit reports. Based on your research too, you can improve your systems. It doesn't have to wait till audit. Okay. So basically, also you need to determine what is acceptable, right? Security policy should define acceptable and unacceptable actions, right? Organization must create a standard based on those developed on or endorsed by standard bodies, right? So standard bodies are basically all your baselines and everything, right? Communication and other actions permitted by policies documents are acceptable, right? Communication and other actions specifically banned in security policies are unacceptable. So for example, um, you'll have a policy where AU, what user acceptable policy, in there you mentioned that nobody is basically allowed to go on uh, any internet sites. Right? For example, you cannot, access your Gmail from your company office. You cannot access your private mail, or you cannot access your bank accounts, or whatever, and you cannot send any PII information through your emails. Right. So basically, you put those policies in place, and then you make your company employees aware that these are acceptable and these are unacceptable actions, and then you also show them like what are the consequences for unacceptable actions as well at the same time, and consequences will be also up to termination and fines as well nowadays. Okay, any questions on that? Anybody can give me an example of any other unacceptable actions by companies in your company that you work for? Anyone? Go ahead. Babar, you're saying some. Daniel, you're saying something, sir. I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Daniel. Looks like you're too far away from your mic. Can anybody hear Daniel?
No, I cannot hear him.
I cannot. Okay, that's fine. Let's move on. So basically, permission levels, right? There are permission levels too. Uh, Promiscuous. Everything is allowed in this permission level. You can access anything. Permissive, anything not specifically prohibited is okay. So if there is something prohibited, then you are not allowed to view that. Prudent, a reasonable list of things is permitted and all others are prohibited. Okay. So, and there is paranoid, very few things are permitted, all other are prohibited and carefully monitored. So basically, promiscuous is any publicly data available that you can have promiscuous permissions. Permissive is, permissive and prudent are mostly used in corporations, and paranoid is mostly used in government services. So basically, especially with the defense and all that, they always use the paranoid permissions. Very few things are permitted for an individual to access. All others are prohibited and carefully monitored. So that's how those permission levels are. Area of security, large in scope and cover entire department or business functions, narrow and address only specific systems or controls. An audit provides management with an independent assessment of whether the best controls are in place and how well they work. This helps management understand and address their risk. So basically, when you do the internal audits basically gives the independent assessment of whether the best controls are in place and how well they work in your systems. Okay, this helps management understand and address the risk. If there is any risk associated with the reports, and then the management can understand that, and they can basically either mitigate those risks, transfer those risks, whatever they feel like they can do with that risk. So that's the scope of that. And audits can be narrow and address only specific product systems. Like for example, right, in large scale companies, there are hundreds of products, so uh, you cannot simultaneously audit all hundreds of products at the same time, right? So you prioritize the products. What are your most basically most of the time they look at the revenue of the products. So if one product is making $500 million, then you will audit that more, and then another product that is making like maybe $1 million, right? So based on your priorities, you will do the audits. Okay. Purpose of the audit is appropriate security levels, correct installation of controls. We talked about all of this earlier too. I'm not going to go into deep again. Effectiveness of the purpose of controls, how effective the control is, if the controls are placed correctly, and appropriate security levels are there. Okay. And then customer confidence. Customers generally conduct business only with organization they trust. So that is very important. This is very important statement. Remember, folks. So customers are basically they conduct business only with the companies they trust, right? For example, you will not do banking and put all your money in a bank where you don't trust the bank. Correct? Makes sense, right? So if customers know that an organization systems are constantly auditing for security, they may be more willing to share their sensitive information. Okay. Service organization controls, SOC frameworks define scopes and contents of three levels of audit reports. So there are three levels of audit reports, folks. SOC 1, SOC 2, and SOC 3. Okay, so we'll cover all these three reports here. SOC 1 is basically internal controls over financial reports. So SOC 1 audits happen with mostly financial industry. Okay, and SOC 2 confidentiality, integrity, availability, and privacy controls. So SOC 2 audits basically happens with most of the general uh, companies. So so basically any company, like most of the companies, they go with SOC 2, and SOC 1 is basically just for the financial companies like banks and all that. And then they have to follow the SOC and GLBA baselines laws. SOC 3 is security confidence public requires for customers of SOC 2 service providers. So basically, if you're doing SOC 2, then SOC 2 3 is almost covered in there. Okay, so most I'm pretty sure all of you might have heard about SOC 2 audits. Our company, we have always SOC 2 audits going on, and then SOC 2 audits happen for at least few months. Like right now, we are in SOC 2 audits. We are going on, and we are providing them all the artifacts. They come and ask for artifacts, and then we provide artifacts. It goes for like a week or 2 weeks, sometimes a month too. So it's not like 1 hour thing that that happens. So it's expensive too. If you hire uh, external auditors, they charge you arm and a leg. They are very expensive, believe me. Any questions so far, folks? Good. Okay. So how the audit works is basically they'll define the objectives, determine which systems or business process to review. So basically they say we have 100 products. We want to review only like first product A and product B for now. So they have those goals in there, define which areas of assurance to check, identify personnel who will be participating in the audits. So basically when the audit team comes, then as a security CISOs, they will provide point of contact for the external audits to work with. So, for example, ha- they will the SOC team, the audit team, external audit team will come and will talk to the SOC folks. We'll talk to the development folks. They'll have few architects giving them artifacts. It's not just any security folks giving artifacts. Basically there will be a liaison from the security team who will be acting on behalf of those teams, like architect teams, database teams, infrastructure teams, application teams, network teams, security teams. All of this work, there will be a liaison from your company, and then they'll be getting all the artifacts from your systems and providing that to the audit team. And then when audit teams, for example, audit team have a question in networking artifacts, then this liaison from the security team, he will coordinate that with networking team, and then there'll be a call set up with the audit team, network team, and the liaison, and then audit team will directly ask questions to the infrastructure team. Okay, you're doing it this way now. Why are you doing it this way? Why don't you do it this way? How can we protect it this way? How are you protecting this? How are you protecting this firewall? How are you protecting this routers? How are you protecting? Show me the evidence. So the audit, because the liaison does not have all the experience to answer all the audit questions, then the infrastructure team will come and answer any questions if they need to the auditors or database team or architects team. So on and so forth. That's how it works. Everybody good? So audit is not just in one. Go ahead, Azam. Yes, sir.
The question is, sir, here. So,
Mhm.
what is the difference between the
I'm sorry, you're cut off. Difference between
auditors and the analysts? Pretty much doing the same thing that auditors do.
who?
The analyst, data analyst.
So, see, the thing is, right, it doesn't matter whatever data analysts do, unless it is approved by the audit, it doesn't put any value in there, right? So, so that's the assigned department, audit department, right? So they have to approve it. So that's why there is auditors are specifically trained, okay, for auditing, and then basically the audit team does the audit for the entire system. So data analyst must be, doing some analysis for, databases. Some might be doing it for other infrastructure or other things, right? So they are not looking at the system holistically, right? So this auditors, they come in and they are trained to look at the system holistically from end to end and identify vulnerabilities and give their reports, and that reports will be basically valued by the senior management and all that. So the data analyst, if he does a little bit here and there and then he can give, that's fine, but that's internal. But this is basically, this is coming from the companies that you work with. The customers are sending this audit teams because they don't trust your data analyst, right? They have their own people. They'll send those third party people. They will they could be biased from your perspective because you data analysts are working for the company, right? But this auditors, they come are independent third party organization. They do not influence your systems. Like they don't get basically there is no, what do you call that, um, bias in there, right? If you work for a company and then your manager comes and says, okay, that's fine, yeah, don't worry about it, don't say anything about it, so you might have, but auditors, you cannot influence them because they're third party. Make sense, brother?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah. Mhm. Okay. Okay, we covered this, and then define the scope of audit survey, review documentation, review risk analysis, review servers, devices, application logs, review instance logs, review results of pen testing, penetration testing also. That's also very important that you have to provide all your pen test results as well. And sometimes audit teams, they do the pen test too. They have pen tester, third party pen testers. They hire them to do the pen testing to see if your systems are good enough, secure enough.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Let's say this auditing specifically with the one refer with regards to external auditors. They're coming in, don't you think like these individual auditors coming in from outside would have access to private information of the company, like would there be a way that they may influence the having access to the privacy information that they can take along, and maybe in the future if they no longer work as an external auditors, having access to this privacy information, they can utilize this in a way to breach security of the former places they have ever visited to audit, from audit.
No, that's a really good question, brother. Hood. So basically, auditors, basically we share the data with them because they are secure. They do not share the data with anybody, right? They keep our data secure, and then they keep the data as long as it is required. After that, they will purge the data. Same thing, like for example, you go to your health information is private, right? But you go to your doctor and you share your health information with the doctor, and we assume that doctor is assume, and we also verify that that doctor is basically keeping our data secret. He has he has pledged to keep our data secret, right? Same thing with auditors too. They pledge to keep our data secret, and they keep it as long as required. After that, they will basically, there is terms and conditions with that too. They have to write document, like they have to they have SLAs and all that. They have to sign on that they will not disclose our information. It's all kept private, and how they keep it safe and all that things. Yes. So audit teams have to make sure that um, they will not uh, release our data to anybody. Make
Okay.
sense? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. So basically, again, there is a diagram of all the audit scope. I'm not going to go over the diagram. We already talked about it detailed, like remote access, firewall, and all. You guys take a look at it when you have audit benchmarks, right? So you can see these are the benchmarks for audits. ISO 27002. Basically, ISO 27002 is the most common control. This is SOC 2 audits. Most of the SOC 2 audits are based on ISO 27002. I think the latest ISO 27002 is from 2022. 2022 or 2024. Yeah, 2022. The latest ISO 27002 framework came out in 2022. You cannot download this framework unless you are subscribed to ISO 27002. To subscribe to IS 27002, you have to have your work ID and all those things. So you won't be able to see that document unless you are subscribed and you participate in that. And I have that document, but I cannot share it with you all because it's based on subscriptions. But I'll share you the NIST and other ones if you like, that are open source. Anybody can go and get those documents. National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, Cybersecurity Frameworks, Information Technology Infrastructure Library, ITM. These are some of those. You can go through COBIT and COSO and all that. You can download it, just ask ChatGPT, they'll give you these documents. Audit data collection methods. So what are the collection method auditors do? We talked about it. They ask questionnaires, they interview folks, they'll call them, like we talked about network team, right? They will interview in the network teams, observations, checklists, review documentations, configurations, review policies, they do their own security testings too, penetration testing they might do if they feel like, all those kind of things. Or if it is required, they do the penetration testing too from external audit. Any questions so far? So areas of security audits, you can look into this. I'm just giving art here: cryptographic system hardening policies, intrusion detection systems, system access policies. They will look at all this places areas, and contingency planning, hardware software maintenance, physical security, access controls, media protection. How are you how are you protecting your media, age of the media, labeling, storage, transportation, all those kind of things. If you have those things. Control checks and identity management approval process, who grants approvals for access requests. So this is also identity management and control checks. They look at this too. Authentication mechanism, password policies, monitoring, remote access systems. All of this is basically considered in audit. Post audit activities. So once the audit is completed, they will have exit interviews, data analysis, generation of audit reports, right? So they'll also have exit interviews and data analysis, and then they will also generate an audit report. In the audit report, you can find findings, recommendations, timeline for the implementation. Remember, we talked about if it's a critical and high, the timelines will be less, and vulnerability management timelines will give. Level of risk management response, follow-up, presentations of findings. The presentation of findings will be done to your senior management, like your CEO, CISO, and all those kind of folks. They will present those findings to them. Okay. So any questions for auditing before we move to security monitoring? Anybody? Any questions on auditing? No? So I think it's a good time to take a break. It's 2:25. We'll come back at 2:40. Everybody good? 2:40? Sounds good. Let's
Okay.
come back at 2:40. Thank you all. Hello, everyone. Is everyone back? Almost. Yes.
Yeah.
So here we have Nishit, you have a question here on what are the types of audits, right? So the audits could be like divided into other couple of things, right? There could be vulnerability audits, there could be compliance audits, there could be penetration testing audits, right? So there is different ways of audits. And then I have this question in our homework too.
You wanna share it?
Yeah, you can do some research on that and get your uh,
You wanna
timelines.
share?
Does that help, Nishit? Perfect, sir. Good questions though. And time frame again, and it depends on company to company. Everybody have their own time frames. Okay, so let's go back to our monitoring here. Let me share my screen now. Let me know when you can see my screen, all of you. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Security monitoring. Oh man. Okay. So security monitoring, right? So we monitor the baselines, alarms, alerts, and trending. Closed circuit TV system that spots irregular behavior. Right? Oh, so is it fine now?
Yeah.
Okay. So security monitoring for computer systems, real-time monitoring. So basically, for the on the real-time monitoring, we can use intrusion detection systems, host intrusion detection systems is excellent for noticing activities in a computer as the activities is happening. IDS rules have identified suspicious activities in near real time. So basically, they they identify suspicious activities in near real time. Host uh, intrusion detection systems. So I'm pretty sure that most of the companies they use uh, either IDS, either a host or what's the other IPS. IPS, yes. Very good, very good. Yep. And then we have system integrity monitoring, such systems such as Tripwire enables you to watch computer system for unauthorized changes and report them to administrators in real time. So there is system integration monitoring and data loss prevention. There are a lot of tools for data loss prevention too. System use business rules to classify sensitive information to prevent unauthorized end users from sharing it. So for example, right, I'm pretty sure if you have DLP installed on your laptops, if you try to send any sensitive data from your Outlook, it won't let you send the data, any sensitive data, even in your, like if you put in social security number and try to email it to somebody else, it will stop you. It will say, hey, you cannot do it, it's sensitive data or any sensitive information. Okay, so these are the near real time monitoring that you can, and there are many other ways you can do it too. Non real time is basically logs, application logs, like all the application logs Those are non-real-time monitoring. You can monitor the system. I wish that access or modify sensitive data should be logs. That right. And do you know where we log this information? Anybody? We talked about it so many times. Very good, very good. Excellent, excellent, folks. And system logs and any types of system logs, OS logs, and all those things. Um, those are non-real-time monitoring, but we need this also logs. Log activities, host-based activities include changes to the systems, request performance, and startup shutdowns. These are host-based activities, your server startup, shutdown, any changes in your server and all that. Network and device is that includes accesses, traffic type and patterns, malware, and performance. These are the logs. We put it in non-real time logging in your SIM systems. Monitoring issues, many organizations turns off logs because they produce too much information. So this is one of the drawbacks of logs is basically it produces too much information and it's very costly to keep those logs. And that's why most of the companies, if they cannot afford it, they keep them turned off logging. Without a way to automatically analyze log data, logging uses up disk space without providing much value. So basically, what we need to log, we have to select and choose. This is also one of the requirements of information security team to provide what are the things based on the company architecture, company rules. You had to provide that information to the application teams, to the database team, to the infrastructure teams. What are the things you want to log? This is all the responsibility of security architect teams. So you'll also have a security architect teams, right? So they will provide the logging requirements. Other monitoring issues is spatial distribution, switch networks, encryption, network layer encryption, application layer encryptions. These are all what kind of encryption methods you want to use, what type of basically, what do you call that? I'm forgetting that name now. Uh, what is that you use for encryptions? What do you use for encryptions? Anybody? I'm forgetting the name. Algorithms. What algorithms you want for your encryption and all those kind of things. That is all basically decided by your security architecture team, and then that information is shared across, that is put into policy and shared across all the teams, and they have to abide by those policies. Okay. And logging anomalies, some of the logging anomalies are sometimes they come up with a lot of false positives. A lot of time false positives are spun up and then false negatives too. So I will not be worried about false positives. It takes a little bit time, but I'm worried about like false negatives. So basically it is a vulnerability, or it is something which is an issue, and then we don't that don't pop up. So we don't see those issues. So those are called false negatives. So you have to be a little worried about the false negatives as well. False positives, we know it is false positive. I know we might have to spend some time and it takes some cost associated to it, but sometimes you get false positives, which is okay. Nature of the game. Types of log information to capture: event logs, general operating system and application system software events like access logs, security logs, audit logs. So basically, there is a document created by NIST. It's called M2131. I'm going to put it in our chat so you can download it. M2131. This gives you a good idea of exactly what all should be logged in your system. It's created by the federal government. M2131. Let's see. Security log document. And by, I think it's by NIST. NIST. Okay. So download this document. You will see exactly. I don't know. I have this document. If you don't, if you can't find it, let me know. I'll download it and I'll share it with you all. And this gives you a good idea of exactly what are all the logs that they're um, categories, log events they want to capture. Um, what are the security events? What are the operation events? What are those all kinds of events they want you to capture is documented in this M2131. So most of the companies this use this as baselines, but this is just again a guidelines, right? You can use few of them. You don't have to use all of them, and some of them they are not applicable for your team. So, for example, if you don't have any databases, then database logs will not be applicable for you, right? Something like that. So look at that. That's a very good document, M2131, to look at what kind of events you want for logs. Types of log information, antivirus, weblog, IS, low grade logs, routers, switch, everywhere, wherever it's coming from, you can get this logs. But if you look at that M2131 document, it gives you a really good idea of that. This is just a screenshot from the book that I'm using. Types of log information to capture, right? Security information and event SIM systems can help organize, manage logs, files by providing a common platform to capture and analyze entries from firewalls, intrusion detection systems, IDS, IPS, web servers, database logs, all of this. So basically, what you can do is a SIM is your the source of truth. You can call it the source of truth for logs, right? So from everywhere you can get from firewall, from IDS, from IPS, from web servers, database server logs, all of those you can compile that all together in SIM, and then you can standardize data into a common format. So you can have it into common format, and then you can use the SIM to set up uh, alert notifications, set up rules, what alerts you want, because you don't want alert for every log, right? So certain events you want alerts from, right? So you can set up rules in your Sentinels. If you have worked with Sentinels, you'll understand that. Either I'm sorry, SIM. We use Sentinel, Microsoft Sentinel as our SIM. Or what's the other one? There is few other ones that you can use uh, for your SIM. So you can set up rules, which events you want triggers and alert, so that whatever events you set up in the rules to trigger an event. For example, right, somebody is there is a login failure immediately for FireDems. That is an event. So you'll write a rule saying that, okay, if anybody try to log in within 1 minute for 5 attempts, send that as an alert to SOC. So if anybody tries to log in 5 times within a minute and login fails, then that alert will be sent to SOC, and then SOC will immediately look at that. And then, for example, if you are at your laptop and you forgot your password and you type wrong password 5 times within a minute and then entered, then this will be sent to your SIM. Then alert will be generated. Alert will be sent to SOC. SOC will contact you and ask you, hey, you were trying to do this. You say, yeah, I forgot my password. So it's a false positive for you. Now they know that it's a false positive. It's a genuine person who's trying to access it. But it was a bot. Then they know this was an attack, right? So for example, right? And then they call you and say, okay, you're trying to access 5 times your password and you couldn't log in. You say, no, I didn't. I never did that. That means that's an incident happening on your system. Somebody's trying to hack your system. Immediately, what you'll do, you'll isolate your system, whatever the policy is. Make sense, everybody? Yes? Okay. So basically, standardized data and format, and then you can use charts to show the all kinds of incidents that happens. Dashboards are there in your tools. They also have dashboards that shows you in a higher level picture of your security posture there. Security orchestration, automation, and response source system. So this basically it's also identify incidents and response to them in a sense structure manner. So you can have both in your company. You can also have a SIM and a SOAR. SOAR is a little expensive. That's why people don't deploy SOAR. And there is other things that could basically jeopardize your systems So basically, what SOAR does is if there is an incident that is happening live, it has the capability of responding to them right away in a structured manner, whatever manner you want them to respond it to. So, for example, then SOC doesn't have to call you. If, for example, right, if you go and try to log into your system for 5 times within a minute and without proper login, with an incorrect password, then your system get logs. Then what happens is basically instead of SOC calling you, if you have a SOAR, it can lock your system or it can disable your user ID. So immediately what it does is it goes. So it has it has the capability of responding to that instance. Now it can go and disable your user ID in your Active Directory right away. So if you put that policy in place, so that way SOC doesn't have to interfere anything. You can do it that way too. That's why people get SOAR. But again, sometimes it gets into extreme things, so people try to avoid SOAR in certain conditions because of the false positive issues. Make sense, everybody? Good? Same page? Yes? Okay, let's move on. How to verify security controls, specific classes of monitoring controls. You can look at two types of IDS, IPS firewalls. We covered this already. IDS as a firewall component, you can look at this diagram. It's just basically if you have the IDS, network IDS or host IDS. So network IDS protects your systems at the network level, and if you have the host IDS will protect you at your server level, host level. Okay, so so these are the two differences between the host IDS and the network IDS. Most of the companies they deploy network IDS and host IDS at the same time. They want to have double controls, two types of controls. This is called double protection, double controls. So it's not only just at the network level you're protecting from the external attacks, you're also protecting from the server level for the attacks. Okay. Basic network IDS. You can just look at this diagram. It's just self-explanatory. I don't have to explain it to you. Look at the documentations, and then analysis methods are there. Patterns or sign-based IDS, rules-based detection, rely on pattern matching and stateful matching, anomalies, profile-based systems, right? Common methods of detecting anomalies, static-based methods, traffic-based methods, protocol types. So you can go into these details. If you are interested, you don't have to go in these details, but I'm just putting it there. And if you are interested, you can look into the details here. HIDS, host IDS technology, adds to the entire system protection by keeping watching over sensitive process inside a computer, also called a host. HIDS system generally have the following qualities. Okay, software process or services designed to run on server computers, intercept and examine system calls or specific processes or patterns or behaviors that should not normally be allowed, right? So for example, you when I talked about the second bullet point here, intercept and examine system calls or specific processes for patterns or behaviors that should not normally be allowed. What does that mean? Can you give me an example of that? So we are saying if it is not in a normal specific process for patterns or behaviors, that should not normally be allowed. So for example, right, what this is saying is you log on to your system from Alfreda office every day, right? So that's a normal specific pattern, right? And all of a sudden, you go to India, you go to Bombay and log on from there. What is that? That's abnormal, right? So in those kind of cases, what it is saying is basically alert the SOC. That's what it is saying here. Makes sense, everybody? So any abnormal activities having on the systems, uh, and for example, there is a website, all your traffic comes from North America. And, now your traffic is coming from some gibberish nation. that is not a normal pattern, right? So those kind of alerts are sent through this systems. Okay. So it also says detect inappropriate traffic that originates inside the network, right? Inappropriate traffic. So if it is coming from, like for example, your customer base is North America and Canada only, and then traffic is coming from Japan. That means inappropriate traffic. So you might want to see what's going on there. Recognize an anomaly that is specific to particular machine or user. Okay, so specific machine and user, right? What we said is basically if a machine is used at one place and all of a sudden it goes somewhere else, then recognize that and send an alert. Layer defense, network access controls. So firewalls, routers, untrusted. So you have, um, so you can put in place routers and firewalls. It's a network layer defense. You can do this as on layer defense too. Okay. Network IDS devices to monitor outside attacks. So you can use the network devices from outside too. So you can see from your router there is a network device sitting, and then there is a firewall, and there is another network device sitting inside here, network IDS sitting, and then trusted network, and then you also have a host IDS system. So you're protecting it. It's all this is called a multi-layer protection. So you're protecting this from your router to from the outside. Also, you're protecting the traffic from the network. Then if if somebody is smart enough to get away from the outside device and they can get away from the firewall, then they will be caught in your device right here inside NDS as well, or they can be caught from your HDS if it is a host based coming from the host. Okay, so this is multi-layer protection you can provide on your systems. But remember, the more tools you add, the more expensive it gets. So you have to do cost and benefit analysis too, whether is it appropriate or not. These systems are not inexpensive. They are very to deploy this NDS, HDS, HIDS, NIDS firewalls and all that. It's expensive. It's not cheap. So you have to calculate the cost versus the risk at the same time. Okay. Host isolation and demilitarization zone, right? So you can also look at this demilitarization zone, DMZ, right? DMZ is basically it's not like our war DMZ zone or anything like that. It's just an area where basically it's like a staging area where before you go into your email servers or your web servers, you go to the DMZ, and then basically you check in the DMZ if there is any uh, threats or any risk. If it is not, then you go to your email servers and web servers. Before that, everything is handled in DMZ. Okay, demilitarized zone. That's what demilitarized zone is. Nothing but your staging area, you can call it, where um, if 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 there is a if there is a breach happening, right? So that will happen that will happen in your DMZ itself. It doesn't go to your actual system. So DMZ is not being used nowadays because we have Cloudflare now, right? Everybody is, I'm pretty sure, aware of Cloudflare. So this is an old technology. So I should remove this slide, but it's good to have it to you understand how things work. Do you know how Cloudflare works now, folks?
No.
No. So what Cloudflare technology does is basically I will ask that question in our next class. I want you to do research on Cloudflare technology too. That is important and that is being used heavily now with everybody. So what Cloudflare does is basically it takes your IP and it subnets your IP, and then your IP is not shown to the hacker, right? So before, what we used to do is we used to have our web servers, and then right, and then we used to host our application on the web servers, and then clients used to access directly our web servers, right? But now with Cloudflare, and Cloudflare is used for speed too. So for example, your web server is in data center is in Alpharetta, hosting your web server, right? But uh, if somebody from India wants to access your server, it'll be very slow, right, to get the data from your server. So what Cloudflare does is basically it keeps a cache of your data. So Cloudflare has uh, data centers everywhere around the globe, right? So so when you sign up with Cloudflare, so they will take your web server and then they will take data from your cache your web server and put it on their host. So when I when I go to from India, when I try to access that web application, it will not come to Alfreda anymore, to the data center in Alfreda. It will go to the Cloudflare data center in India itself, and we already have a cache there from our information in Cloudflare. So that way, Cloudflare can easily um, quickly cache the data and send it to the folks in India. So one of that advantage is there, and also in that way we are also basically limiting our system from exposure to direct threats, right? Because they are using the Cloudflare IP addresses now. They're not using our company, our data center IP addresses because we are caching the data there. So if the attack now, if you go through Cloudflare, the attacker knows that same thing, same VPN, right? How you use VPN. So it's the same technology Cloudflare is also. So basically, they will not able to. So if you use VPN, then your IP address, your laptop IP address is not disclosed, right? So that's how Cloudflare works too for web servers. Okay, make sense, everybody? Okay, we talked about system hardening, right? So these are the things where you harden your system, turn off and disable unnecessary services. So if you have any unnecessary services, you turn off those. Secure management interface and application, protect passwords through aggressive password policies, disable unnecessary user accounts on your systems, secure all computer devices for unauthorized changes, disable unused network interfaces, disable unused application and server ports. So I know earlier on the company laptops, they used to have a floppy drive and this and that, right? Now they have removed all of those things. Why do you think they removed this from your work computers? Anybody? Remember, all the laptops used to have the floppy disk drive. Why did they remove all that? And some ports too. They're putting limited ports now. Why is that? Anybody?
To make it slim.
Make it what?
To make it slim.
Slim? Yeah, that's a good point. What other thing? To basically secure your laptops too, right? If you have a CD-ROM putting in there, and if there is a virus in the CD-ROM, it will just affect the whole entire organization network, right? That's why they took off all those
But
extra
it can
devices.
also be, but virus can also be circulated via USB port now.
That's why they have taken out the USB port too now. If you look at your laptops, you cannot hook a USB port to your laptops. My laptop from my company, I cannot hook anything except my one device that it goes to the port. That's it. They have taken. Yeah, that's a good point. They have taken out USB ports too. Most of those. Yep. And to make it look good too. Yes. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Monitoring and testing security systems. Common risk, right? Attackers who come in from outside with unauthorized access, malicious code, trojans, and malware. These are the common risk, right, for our systems. Sensitive information leaks from inside the organization to unauthorized people who can damage your organization. So these are the common risks that we have in our systems, right? Two of them. Attackers come from outside, sensitive information leak from inside. These are the two common risks. monitoring traffics with IDS, which identify abnormal traffic for further investigations, like we discussed that. Use an IPS to actively block malicious traffic. You can also use IPS. IDS is to identify, IPS is to block malicious activities. So these are two different tools. One is to identify, one is to block. So you can use both the tools together. One will identify it, and the other one will basically block it. Testing. You can see this before data center host, scan results, found unpatched services. So once you test it, you'll find results, and then you will find unpatched service, then you'll patch it. So you can go through this diagram amount of detail. Security testing roadmap, reconnaissance, centralize on learning about the system you want to test. Basically, you need to know exactly what are the systems you want to test. And network mapping centers on using software tools that can scan for services up and running on systems. So basically, you can network map it by using the tools. So, and then you have vulnerability testing centers on using software tools to ascertain which services may be vulnerable to attack. Okay, all the tools that you have DST tools, SAS tools, you have network scanning tools, you have OS scanning tools, database scanning tools. You can all use all those tools to test your applications and your systems. And then you can also do the penetration testing, right? So first you basically make sure that you know exactly what are all your assets are. That is reconnaissance. Network mapping, then you'll map those software tools that scans for services up and running on systems. Okay. And then you do the vulnerability testing. Vulnerability testing is basically your DAS scans, SAS scans, OS scans, DB scans, vulnerability scans, compliance scans, network discovery scans. All of the scans, you run it in vulnerability testing. Okay. And then you do penetration testing. Penetration testing is basically you're trying to hack the system from outside, just like a hacker, but you are not a hacker, you are a company employee who's making sure before a hacker gets it, like a bad actor gets to it, you get it and you resolve it. Okay. And then you mitigate those activities. These are the steps you take. So establishing testing goals and reconnaissance methods are here. Establishing, identify vulnerabilities and rank them according to how critical they are to your system. Again, once you identify those vulnerabilities, you have to rank them. Otherwise you cannot fix them all together, right? You have to start with critical, high, medium, low. So you have to prioritize critical, fixing the criticals first. Then you jump to highest, fixing the highest. Then you go to medium. You cannot do everything together because it's going to create a chaos. You won't be able to finish it. So you have to basically uh, rank them accordingly and mitigate them. Document a point-in-time snapshot test for compared to other time periods. So always you need to have documentations of um, snapshots of those. So you can have monthly reports. Take a snapshot of one report from January and then one report from February and one from March. That's how you will be basically creating trending charts. So you can say, okay, in January we found 15 critical vulnerabilities. In February we found 10 critical vulnerabilities. In March we found 8 critical vulnerabilities. In May we found 40 critical vulnerabilities. And then it's like, okay, what's going on here? And we were going down, and all of a sudden we went up, right? So what's the issue there, right? So those kind of things. The trending will provide you that answer. So you should always have trending on your vulnerabilities as well. Okay. And prepare for audit reviews. Always you have to be prepared. Finding the gaps in your security. That's the most important goal of your security engineering team, is to find the gaps in your systems. So reconnaissance method is basically social engineering is fancy phrase of for lying, right? So you have to be basically, you have to make sure that uh, you protect your system from social engineering. Give proper training to your employees around social engineering. What is social engineering? How can you identify social engineering emails? All those kind of things. We have quarterly trainings on social engineering that our security culture team does. So it's very important your employees are aware and up to date about social engineering. Otherwise, what happens if and one employee clicks a wrong email that can screw up the entire network, right? So it could be a problem for the entire organization. So that's why every employee is critical to to make sure that they are in compliance with security. Security is not just the job of information security or um, cybersecurity team. Every employee in the company should be aware of what is security, how you can protect. Every employee can protect the systems and um, play a part in protecting the systems. Make sense, everybody? Yes. Okay. We're almost done, folks. I know most of you are fasting, so I'll try to wrap it quickly. Covert versus overt testers, right? So this is just a hostile attack role testing without warning, little guidance from staff. Overt testing is full staff cooperation, plan, test time, having diagrams and information, right? So basically, you can do either white box testing or black box testing. So this is considered as if you know everything, then it's a white box. If you don't know anything, then it's a black box testing. So you can find bugs in both ways, in through the black box and through the white box. And most of the penetration testing is done via black box methodologies because they are assuming they don't know all the infrastructure. You have just little knowledge and they try to penetrate into your systems. Okay, that's called black box testing. That's what it is saying here. So black box testing uses the test methods that are in basically direct on knowledge of the program architecture or design. So basically, black box penetration testing is they don't have the knowledge of the architecture. White box is they have the so your penetration testers sometimes they are white box testers too because they have the architects provide them all the knowledge of the system and then they try to hack that. So that's called white box testing. Especially sometimes um, some testing is also done as white pen testing is also done as whiteboard testing. Gray box testing is lies between both black box, so they know little bit knowledge, half knowledge of your architecture. That's what gray box testing is. But gray box testing is not used anymore. Mostly it's done either black box as white or white box testing. Any questions, folks? All good? Security testing tools and tips. Choose the right tools. Tools are very important, right? Everybody understands that, right? Make tools make mistakes, protect the systems, tests should be as real as possible. Okay. So also remember that you cannot rely 100% on tools. Tools can also make mistakes. So you have to basically identify those mistakes and use the appropriate tools. If one tool is not satisfying your control, move to another tool because there are so many tools out there in the market. So they will, according to your needs and your cost, you can identify tools and buy those tools. All the security tools, the responsibility is on the security engineering teams to basically buy those tools and then do the POCs on proof of concepts on those tools and make sure they are working and then they're deploying those tools enterprise wide. That's all responsibility of security teams. Okay. With that, we are done for the day. Anybody have any questions, comments, suggestions? Before that, let me stop sharing and then I'm going to put the slides and next week homework in here so you guys can, oh, you guys can be prepared for your next class. Let me go to week 7. I'm going to put the auditing and monitoring. Okay. This is today's class presentation, folks. Daniel, can you share this with the other folks who did not attend today? Daniel, please.
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Let me share next week 5, week 7 questions for week 7. So folks, please make sure to do your homework for week 7. That will really help you understand, because I have covered a lot of information today too, and very critical information. Every security engineer folks needs to know this fundamental information. All the classes we have done so far, those are all basically, those are the first fundamentals you need to understand uh, as a security engineering folks, and then you can go into more deep later on. And then I'm going to share about this is a thing where it shows exactly what is the difference between white box and black box testing. You can take a look to here. And I think we are good. Anybody have any questions, comments, suggestions? Everybody good? Yes? Okay then. Thank you all for joining. See you all next week.
Thank you very much, sir. Have a nice day. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Bye.